This was a tough booking. President Trump is very busy, and he works hard. He's 3 years older than I am, and we have a work ethic. Okay, I take more time off than Donald Trump. Donald Trump only plays golf. He doesn't have any other hobbies. I have a bunch. And as I said, he gave us 25 minutes. And, you know, when you hear the clips, just focus in on the difference. If you watch that ABC fiasco on Tuesday, I mean, that went nowhere, got nothing. They just don't get it. They don't know how to interview the man. But anyway, he did, I think out of friendship to me, give us the 25 minutes on Wednesday evening. Now, we began with the polling, which is, you know, at this point in history, because of the stock market, and that's what it's about, and the tariffs, not looking good for Donald Trump. Roll the tape. So, a series of rough polls this week. And I'm wondering how you process that. Does it hurt your feelings when you see numbers come in that are not what you'd like them to be?
Well, first of all, they're fake polls. And if you take a look at the polls, they interviewed more, and for the most part, they interviewed more Democrats than they did Republicans, which is ridiculous and unfair. And Democrats aren't voting for Trump. And you look at him, John McLaughlin, who's the most respected pollster, said I'm at 50, 55, and maybe even higher than that. And he said that these polls are largely fake. When you say, am I bothered by it? If I was, I'd be really helped by the fact that in the election, we won in a landslide. We won the popular vote. We won the swing states. We won the districts, 2,750 to about 505. And the election took place just a short while ago, November 5th. I think it was.
Well, what's different now, Mr. President,
for the country.
What's different now is the tariffs, and that's what's driving your numbers down. That some people are panicking because the stock market is so up and down, in and out. Would you agree that that has been a perception problem, the tariffs?
Yeah, but I'm an honest guy, and we have to save the country. We were losing $5 billion a day with this man that we had as a president, the AutoPen president. Nobody even knows who the president was. We're losing, think of it, we're losing $5 billion a day, and a big chunk of it was from China.
Okay, so are the polls fake? Some of them are. McLaughlin is a very good pollster. So I didn't hear I don't think he said that publicly to President Trump, but I know John did meet with him. There's a new poll out today I'm going to give you that is pretty interesting, and it's different than the polls that have him way down. So you can't say to Donald Trump, well, no, the polls are fair. They're not fair. I mean, I've told you the polling at Fox News is terrible. The polling at NPR PBS done by Marist College is disgraceful. It's awful. Okay, anybody buying that poll is buying a fraud. And this is based on what their poll numbers were, not only for this election last November, but on and on. Okay, they're awful. And whenever you ask Donald Trump about the wobble, which is in his administration now, which is the tariffs, he falls back on he has to do it. He didn't have to do it. As he pointed out later in the interview, no other president took it on in modern times because they knew it was so risky. But he's doing the right thing on paper. You know, $1 trillion trade deficit here. And that's outrageous. So this is undefined. And that's why some people who once supported the president are now a little scared about it. Okay. The second one is also about economics, because that is the key. President Trump has succeeded on the border. He succeeded in the deportation area. I believe that he'll succeed overseas. But economically is a big question mark. Roll it. When do you think, though, it's going to turn around economically so that people aren't frightened? Do you have a timeline on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very fair question. building plants, building equipment, building so much right now. You probably heard it could be $8 trillion, it could be more than $8 trillion of new investments. Outside in one of my offices waiting for me is the president and chairman of Eli Lilly. And I just left, you take a look, IBM was here today. IBM was here. They're spending billions of dollars. I had some of the biggest, Apple, as you know, is spending $500 billion. They're building their plants, and they've already started in the United States. As you know, they built most of them in China. We had the biggest companies in the world. I had a conference here just about an hour and a half ago, and some of the people are still here. They remain. Some of the people are watching your show tonight. But they're spending, it could be close, I think we're over $8 trillion of new investment. That's unheard of.
But the folks don't see it. They don't see it. And they do see their statements, stock market statements, bonds, and all that every day. And that's the problem. Now, I'm not doubting what the president is saying. I believe that he's going to bring in a lot more investment into the United States. I don't know if the tariffs, the amount of money that's coming in from them, is going to override the negatives in the market. No one could tell you that with any certainty. And again, people believe what they want to believe. President Trump believes that this is going to turn the economy upward, and he's going to be a very successful president a la Ronald Reagan. That's what he believes. Okay, Ronald Reagan believed that he was going to bring down the Soviet Union. Press didn't. Press hammered him for all the defense spending. Donald Trump believes he's going to turn that economy around in a big way, historic way. Okay. Now, third soundbite. That picture of Zelensky and Trump at the Vatican at the Pope's funeral really affected me personally as a journalist. Very unusual. Roll tape.
Yes.
What were you and Zelensky talking about when you were nose to nose in the Vatican?
I was telling him that it's a very good thing if we can produce a deal that you sign it, because Russia is much bigger and much stronger. Russia is just chugging forward. It's a big, strong country. By the way, not nearly as strong as the United States, because I rebuilt our military in my first term. They gave a lot of it away in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is one of the reasons we had an incompetent president, grossly incompetent. He should have never been president. But we had a man that didn't know what the hell he was doing, and Afghanistan showed the stupidity of our leader and the weakness of the military. We have a great military. I knocked out ISIS in 3 weeks.
All right, well, you got the deal. You got the deal with Zelensky on the minerals. That means the United States is going to have a presence in Ukraine. Is that going to inhibit Putin, do you think?
Well, it could, but the reason I did that is that we're in for $350 billion or close to it, whereas Europe is only in it for $100 billion.
All right, so we get some of our investment back. And then the president went on to say that Europe, the EU nations, NATO nations, lent Ukraine the money, and we just gave it to them. So he believes that this mineral deal will bring some of that money back to the USA. Again, that absolutely could happen. There's no guarantee, but it could. But the real reason that the United States wanted that deal is because it gives us a presence in Ukraine, an economic presence that has to be guarded. Okay? So if Putin sweeps in to our industries there, that ups it big time. All right. Now, the deal they made is not what it seems to be. You have not been told. So Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, doesn't reimburse the USA. Okay? It allows the USA preferential rights to harvest minerals. All right? And they're there, but we don't know exactly where they are, the minerals. And the agreement says that future military assistance to Ukraine will count as an investment, okay? So there'll be a fund set up. So we'll get reimbursed. What Trump wants to do is he'll give Ukraine the money, but he wants them to pay it back in the form of mineral sales. And I think that's a fairly good deal. All right, so that's what happened. Now, finally, it was a pretty intense interview, and I'll tell you where you can see it all in a moment. So I wanted to use some levity. I want to, because you don't want to leave everybody as, all right, roll it. Okay. Stephen A. Smith may run for president, as you know. Do you have any advice for Stephen A. If he launches the run?
No, Stephen A. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. I love watching him. He's got great entertainment skills, which is very important. People watch him. A lot of these Democrats I watch, I say they have no chance. I've been pretty good at picking people and picking candidates, and I will tell you, I'd love to see him run.
No, there you go. Now, will he run? At this point, no, but who knows? 3.5 years down the road, Trump has opened the door for every populist candidate. So we are very grateful, President Trump, for giving us the time. I'm not one of these arrogant guys who goes, hey, I got to give it. I told the president when I was booking him that this would be very widely watched all over the world, and the numbers support that. And then over the weekend, you get another surge of people who didn't quite understand what was happening. And I'll give you all the details about where you can see it if you missed it. On Friday, and this is important, there is a 1-hour special on News Nation at 8 p.m. Friday, okay, tomorrow, me discussing the first 100 days in a historical way. And you'll be very, very surprised. So I hope you watch that. If you miss it on Friday, they're going to rerun at 10 p.m. on Sunday. All right, we appreciate News Nation doing that. All right, so after the Trump interview last night, then there was dissent, as there should be. So they brought in James Carville, who hates Donald Trump. Roll the tape.
Well, first thing, I would have never started a trade war.
Okay, so you're okay with $1 trillion going out more than comes in?
A prosperous nation is always going to buy more from an unprosperous nation. We're always going to buy more T-shirts.
Right, so you were happy
let me finish, man.
No, go ahead.
I'm just giving you the rule of trade. We're going to always buy more T-shirts from Sri Lanka than Sri Lanka is going to buy Boeing aircraft from us. And the fact that you do have a trade deficit is an indication that you have a prosperous country and you buying things that come over here.
Okay, so you're fine with it. You're fine with the $1 trillion, and Biden was fine with it.
I'm not.
Because he didn't do anything.
Well, first of all, I am not fine with starting a trade war.
Okay.
That is an utter disaster.
What do you do about it if not what Trump is doing? So Trump, you don't like what he's doing. What would you do because the issue beats you?
It's an excellent question. The first thing I would do is I would not extend these billionaires' tax cuts, and I would not pay for them by clobbering the middle class and the lower middle class by cutting Medicaid expenses, of which
he said he wasn't going to cut Medicaid.
Go watch the budget that's been submitted. It's already got 600. He said he was going to end the war.
There's nothing about cutting Medicaid in the budget.
Did he say or not say? Did he say I'm not? Did he say or not say I'm going to end the Ukraine war?
Bunch of bull, and you know it.
No,
you can't. You can't say it's in the budget. There's a Medicaid cut when there isn't.
Excuse me for speaking while you were interrupting me.
I am. This is ridiculous. And he does it every night.
Can I make a point?
Yes, go ahead.
He was going to end the Ukraine war on day one.
Oh, come on. It's absurd. What did Biden do for 4 years in there? Nothing. It's driving me nuts. They all fall back on that hyperbola, ended on day one and all this. Okay, but, the Democratic Party, and that's where Carville lives, of course, nothing wrong with that. They disseminate every morning, we've gone over this with you, the talking points, and the talking points are that Trump's going to cut Medicaid. That's not true. I have not seen any cut in any proposed bill of Medicaid. And Carville hasn't either because it doesn't exist. Now, if it does exist, I'm going to report it. And I'm not going to be happy about it because the president said he's not going to cut it. But Carville runs around doing all this stuff. And he gets away with it, but not with me. All right, so the raging Cajun got a little raging right back at him. Then it was Congressman Jake Alkenclaus of Massachusetts, very liberal. He is a Trump hater. Roll the tape.
$4.6 trillion had been wiped off the value of the stock market under President Trump's tenure. Okay, that's people's retirement accounts. That's how they save for their kids' college educations. That's how they ensure that they have financial freedom as they enter their golden years.
Hold on. Party politics bores me to death. Okay? You guys are champions on it. It's not a MAGA thing, it's a party. You can't possibly think that within 100 days, Donald Trump has wrecked the entire U.S. economy. That's absurd. Nobody would make that statement other than a partisan player. You've got to give. Now, Trump may fail, and he knows if he does, his legacy is blown up, and he doesn't have a long time. As one of our audience members made the point, there's some urgency. But to just say, oh, $1 trillion is gone, when the stock market could go up 5,000 points in 2 weeks if the trade deals that Trump is saying are going to happen do happen. So let's stay in the real world and let's try to put the party nonsense aside, okay?
And I would add party nonsense.
It is nonsense, Congressman, and you know it. You're reading off a script. You're bringing in a script that you've said 50 times in the last 3 days. It's nonsense.
Bill, don't talk to me about nonsense. When I'm out in my district talking to small business owners who are laying off their workers,
okay.
I am talking to social service providers.
What's the unemployment rate in the country, Congressman? What's the unemployment rate in the country?
This is the economy that Donald Trump
What is the unemployment rate in the country?
And at the same time,
you don't know.
At the same time as he is adding $7 trillion.
You don't know what the unemployment rate in the country is.
It's 2.4%.
So don't give me this. He didn't know. It's 4.2%. So all of this, I go around, everybody's getting thrown out. I mean, you know, look. And the reason this is so out of control is because nobody does this anymore. You know, when I left the Factor 8 years ago at Fox, it's what we did. And then it disappeared off the face of the earth because the stations, the networks, don't want it. It's too hot. And the anchors are afraid. Nobody's going to confront that guy. And we tried to get him on the No Spin News, okay? He would not give us any time, any date, anywhere, nothing. He's afraid to come on this forum. And I treat him respectfully, but he can't lie. He can't. I'm not letting him do that. That was the rule on the O'Reilly Factor. That's what Barney Frank got. Don't lie. You can have an opinion. But anyway, you don't see that anymore. What you just saw doesn't happen anymore. And that's why, you know, people are bored to death with this.